Freddie Gibbs just dropped his latest album, Soul Sold Separately, and after a handful of listens, I think it's a pretty solid project. Now, it has been a couple years since we last heard from Mr. Gibbs. I mean, his last project was Alfredo, which dropped back in 2020 and, fully produced by The Alchemist and got a Grammy nod and everything. So, everything's been on the up and up for Freddie Gibbs. He hasn't, like I said, dropped a project since then, but he has dropped a handful of singles such as Gang Signs with Schoolboy Q, Black Illuminati with Jadakiss, and Ice Cream with Rick Ross. None of which actually made it to the album, which, it's not surprising. It's something that he's done in the past. I mean, with the release of Bandana, he had a couple tracks such as Flat Tummy Tea, I believe, that got put out and just didn't make the album. So he is one to just keep putting music out, even if it's not going to be on an album. So nothing too out of the ordinary there. But with this album, like I said, 2 years. It's been some time. What's he been up to? And we get a lot of that throughout this project. It sounds like he's been reflecting a lot and just kind of thinking about life. I mean, the man is now 40 years old, so he's seen some things. He's gone through some experiences, of course. I mean, if you've been following him, he's, definitely had his fair share of conflict, you could say. But going into this album, I had no idea what to expect. I hadn't, or I still haven't seen any of the trailers or promo videos that he had put out. Which, now thinking about it, the little glimpses I've seen and just like the thumbnails, it all makes sense. The whole, I guess, vibe of the album, as boring as that word is like he's just at a casino essentially. And, this is all the things that happen just after that. I believe in an interview that he did or that got posted today, he was saying that the whole, I guess, idea of this project is that he was at a outer space casino, and after you start winning a bunch, you're eventually going to lose or something along those lines, which is why the album cover has him or has a just crashed spaceship, something like that. I'm sure I'll pick up more as I listen to it some more, which I definitely will because, like I said, it's a very, very solid project. Now, in the weeks leading up to the album, like I said, I didn't watch any of the promo clips, but I did listen to the singles that came out. At first, the first single was Too Much featuring Moneybagg Yo, which had a video as well. And personally, I didn't really care too much for that song. And, as a lead single for the album, I was a little concerned because, usually the lead single is going to be the one that kind of either is just the one that everyone's going to know and listen to, or it's like a taste of what the album's going to sound like. And, personally, not as big of a fan of Moneybagg Yo. I have nothing against him. It's just not my type of music, not my cup of tea necessarily. But, it was fine. But then the second track, which is the, what was it, Dark Hearted? Yeah, Dark Hearted, which has production from James Blake. That track made me very excited for the project because it's Freddie Gibbs is one of those people that can just rap well, and you throw on any beat and he'll just rap well on it. And that track is no different. I mean, when I first heard that it was James Blake production, I was like, oh, that's gonna be interesting to say the least. And I mean, it's definitely interesting. I would definitely say though, it's not everyone's cup of tea, just like most other things that Freddie Gibbs does. But I enjoyed it, and that's kind of what I got a lot of from this album. Like, there's not necessarily experimentation, but we're getting production that's varied. I mean, obviously, in the last couple of years, we've gotten Bandana, the project that he did with Madlib, as well as Alfredo, which is with Alchemist. So you kind of know what to expect with those sorts of producers. I mean, they have a very particular sound, you could say. And, for me, a lot of times I'm like, oh, yeah, like, who produces? Oh, this is Alchemist? Yeah, that makes sense. Like, you just kind of understand what they sound like. But with this one, because He pulled in a bunch of producers. He actually got Alchemist and Madlib on this project too. He's, mixing a lot of different sounds, and it worked very well. Now, I'm not going to go super in depth with most of the tracks because, like I said, I've only listened to it about 4 full times, I would say. So, nothing's really stuck with me too much yet. But there are definitely some tracks that are worth mentioning, like Pain and Strife, the track with Offset. That one surprised me. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it, but I did. And then also, like I mentioned, that I know I mentioned the Moneybag Yo song earlier, but that one also, like as I listened to the album, I'm like, oh no, this is a very enjoyable song, and I will continue to listen to it. The I mean, anytime Freddie Gibbs and Rick Ross are on a track, it's always going to be good. So obviously, Lobster Omelet was an enjoyable track. But I would say one of the early standouts and well highlights of the project, and probably one of my favorite songs. At least whenever I do actually review it, I'm pretty sure it'll be one of my favorite songs. Is the track "Feel No Pain" featuring Addison Pack and Raekwon, and you know it it's not a combination that you would necessarily expect, but it's so good. Like especially Anderson Paak's part on this, like he just goes in. It's just great. It's enjoyable. Another standout track was PYS featuring DJ Paul because it just pulls in so many samples from 3-6, and it's just a very good song in my opinion. And then obviously Dark Hearted was enjoyable for me. Gold Rings with Pusha T. I'm gonna have to listen to it a few more times. Like right off the first couple listens, it didn't really stick with me, but I feel like after some more listens and once I actually really pay attention to what they're saying, I'll probably enjoy it some more. But another, well, actually, I'm just gonna keep saying there's so many songs like as we get towards the back half of the album, honestly. Grandma Stove with Music Soul Child, very enjoyable. It's like I said, Freddie Gibbs has gone through a lot. This man is 40 years old, so he has a lot of experiences to pull from. So this track, does kind of go through some of the things that he dealt with, not necessarily back in the day, but also now. And then the track CIA, which it's just funny. Like I mean, thinking about the track is funny. Like what he's saying on the track, obviously not that funny because it's serious matters. But CIA is standing for crack, Instagram, and AIDS. Um, Two things that we can definitely say are an issue in certain communities, less fortunate communities, you could say, and things that you could argue were pushed on by certain government agencies. Um, Speaking in very vague terms, but Instagram was an interesting option for the eye. But it makes sense, and that actually kind of ties back to Blackest in the Room, where talking about just race issues too. And then the final official track, or I guess bonus track, Decoded with Scarface, just a great way to wrap up the project. But like I said, I really enjoyed this project, and I am looking forward to listening to it a bunch more. Only issue is there's also a lot of other albums that came out today, and I have to get to those as well. So I will likely be doing a proper review for this, as well as most other things. Definitely the Rome Streets album, which I haven't listened to as of right now, which I'll probably listen to after this recording. And just a handful of other projects. But that's all I've got for my kind of initial impressions of Freddie Gibbs's Soul Sold Separately. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of the project so far. I mean, again, early listens, early thoughts. Um, Nothing's confirmed in terms of how I feel about it, but as of right now, I feel pretty good, and I feel like it's a very strong contender for at least my top 10 of the year. Uh, just, but I'm also just a Freddie Gibbs fan, so you know. But that's all I got. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the album, and also like and subscribe while you're down there if you want to see more random videos like this. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.